Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I asked Neelam, what did you have any topic in your mind? She says, gratitude and prayer. Oh, okay. Gratitude is a very beautiful value. It arises in our mind when we recognize what all favors we are enjoying without having even asked for them. That when we think of ourselves, we can see how we are what we are on account of the contribution that we receive from the rest of the world. Someone once took Puja Swami to his factory and very proudly showed the whole establishment and said, Swami, I am a self-made man. Swami says, who made you? So when we think of any accomplishment on our part, like we often feel proud for what we have reached, what we have accomplished. And there is a value that Lord Krishna prescribes in Bhagavad Gita called amanitvam, humility. Humility becomes a value. So usually human being feels very proud of what he has accomplished, not recognizing what all help he has received in any of those accomplishments. That one may be proud that I'm a very knowledgeable person. Just to remind the person, how much did you know when you were born? How long did it take for your mother to make you write 1 or A? And how many people contributed to your knowledge as you grew from that stage up to where you are now? Thus, when we think of all the help that we have received and we continue to receive, then there arises a sense of gratitude. That we have received all this help without even asking for them. When you talk of gratitude towards parents and towards mother in particular, Vedas want us to recognize this contribution, the help that we have been receiving. They recognize 5 sources from which we receive the help. One is the various devatas. Devatas means various natural forces. The sun or the moon, the fire, air, water, earth. We call them devatas, the shining ones, because we are always enjoying their blessing. They illumine our life, like the sun illumines our eyes, the moon illumines our mind, the earth illumines our feet. They illumine our life and therefore they are called devatas. So, this is how the whole universe is set up. That each entity is being held by the rest of the universe, and each entity in turn also contributes to the functioning of the rest of the universe. There is an upakari, upakaraka bhava. Upakarya, one who is helped. Upakaraka, one who helps. And this is a built-in arrangement in the universe. And thus we are constantly upakarya or being helped by countless various elements around us. A recognition of this is without our asking for it. Had that help or support not been there, we would not exist, or we would not be what we are. And this recognition of the favor that we are constantly receiving brings about a sense of gratitude. The Vedas tell us that, O human being, may you recognize there's 5 important sources from which you constantly receive help. One, as I said, are the various devatas, natural forces. The sun illumines our path and therefore we can see. The moon enlivens our mind so we can think. The earth helps us, supports us so we can walk, and so forth. Others are the various rishis or the teachers who have contributed to the storehouse of knowledge from which we have been drawing freely. And therefore what we think we know is all because of the contribution that we have from the rishis, the sages, from the teachers of the past and present. That includes all various scientists and various thinkers and around the world at all the times. The physicists and chemists and mathematicians, and then we receive the help from our parents, of course, and ancestors. We also receive the help from the other members of the society, like from farmers, from a postman, from the teacher, from all this. They do what they do, then only it is possible for us to live our life. And then we also receive help from all the natural elements, from the trees, plants and trees and animals, and from all of them. We call it symbiotic relationship that we have with the rest of the universe. And recognition of this brings about a sense of gratitude. How fortunate I am that I am the recipient of this support or help without even asking for it. When that recognition is there of what I am receiving, then there arises in me a sense of gratitude. Then I want to return the favor. The gratitude, sense of gratitude, inspires me to return the favor, that I should also do something in return. That is called duty. The concept of duty in the Vedas is quite a unique concept. It is not just performing our day-to-day activities, but performing those activities with awareness that this is my opportunity to return the favor that I have been receiving, I have been receiving, and I will always receive. Thus this duty gives me an opportunity to return that favor. The Vedas say, akarane pratyavaya. If you fail to perform your duty, then you incur sin, then you may have to go to hell. because they are dropping out. So there is a whole chain here of helping and being helped. And the person who doesn't perform his duty, doesn't do what is expected out of him or her, then they are just dropping out. And there are consequences of that. Akarane pratyavaya. That you are incurring sin, you may go to hell, sort of. So thus this sense of gratitude is a very important value. This is what we should teach our children also. Have gratitude. Have gratitude for your parents. We take things for granted. Every afternoon this child returns from school. There is nobody at home, right? Because I guess mother also is working, father is working. He discovers that there is on the dining table, a glass of milk and some sandwich. It's all ready. He thinks that, where does it come from? Doesn't even think. He quietly has his, evening snack and goes about his play and everything. So this is provided to us. We don't know where it is coming from. Air is provided to us. Fire is provided to us. Warmth is provided to us. Space is provided to us. Food is provided to us. Water is provided to us. For this light, we have to pay bills. If the light that comes from the sky, no bills are to be paid. Because when you live in your father's home, you don't pay taxes. You don't pay your father for the water that you're using or light that you're using. And so in the words of Puja Swami, we are living in a 5-star or a multi-star, guest house, not hotel. In hotel you have to pay. Multi-star guest house. But everything is provided for. And thus a recognition of this. Then there'll arise a gratitude for my parents, for my grandparents, for my ancestors, for my siblings. They say that even a small creature anywhere also directly or indirectly contributes to my life. Except that we do not know the long chain that is involved of how this one does for that and that for that, and ultimately I am the beneficiary of what that thing does in a remote place. So this is how Ishvara has created the universe. There is a whole section in the Upanishad called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Devoted to that section is called Madhu Brahmana. Madhu means honey, Madhu also means karma phala, the result of the action. Recognize that this Prithvi of the earth is the result of the action that all human beings have performed. And human beings are what they are on account of what Prithvi of the earth does for them. The water is what it is on account of... Now this is something that may be difficult to understand. What Swami, what have you done to create this earth? What have you done to create the water? We have. They explain to us that the universe is karma phala, the result of the actions. The action in totality that all the human beings, all living beings they perform, the result of that is universe. So I have also a contribution in creation, good, bad or indifferent. And similarly, universe in turn does what it does to me. So I perform the karma and that's how I create things. That performs its own karma and then sustains me. A mutual symbiotic relationship of sustaining and being sustained. So this is a recognition of this, brings about a sense of gratitude. Then should arise from me a response of returning that favor. And that spirit of performing my action as my expression of return of that favor is called duty. That everybody is the recipient of the favor. From the devatas, from the rishis, from the parents and ancestors, from other members of society, from the plants, trees and animals. And therefore, we have duty towards all these five. So recently, I guess, one of our children in the this Bal Vihara or Bal, whatever they call it, Bal Gopalam, she described this whole Pancha Maha Yajna. Pancha Maha Yajna means the 5 yajnas or 5 sacrifices that every householder is supposed to perform. A yajna is offering. Yajna traditionally means offering something in the altar where the fire is lit with invocation of Devata. But yajna also means any action that I perform in the spirit of offering. Spirit of self-offering, not just offering. So, 5 Mahayajnas we are supposed to perform in order to balance out the favor that we are receiving. Offering to rishis, offering to ancestors, offering to the other human beings, offering to animals and plants and trees, and offering to the devatas. So this gratitude, this is what we have to teach our children. We have to learn, of course, no doubt about that. But we have to teach our children this gratitude that look, you are what you are. Don't be proud or arrogant for your accomplishments or your successes. Enjoy your success. Nobody denies you enjoying your accomplishments. Nobody denies you enjoying your success. Enjoy them. But don't be proud about them. People feel that I cannot enjoy something unless I am proud of it. But you don't have to be proud to enjoy something. I can enjoy a flower and fruit that is here without owning it up. But it makes a difference. Somebody offers me a flower, beautiful flower, and the next question is, where did you get this? Swami, from your own garden. Then I feel particularly happy. Comes from elsewhere, then I'm okay. So somehow we want to be author of something or the other, and that is when we feel happy, but we don't have to. Just enjoy things as they are. And so this sense of gratitude will make me an humble person, create in me humility. And humility does not mean that I do not enjoy something. I enjoy things along with humility. Then the prayer that Lord give me that wisdom, that I recognize what all is done for me, that may it create in me a recognition, a sense of gratitude. Lord, please grant me the attitude that I wish to return that favor, that I become a contributor. The idea of contribution comes from this, that may I become a contributor. Consumers we all are, because without consumption we cannot survive. But consumption should not be the only thing in our life. As a present day society would think that more you consume, more happy you are, more successful you are. But our scriptures teach us that not consumption but the contribution. Well, we have various needs and desires, and therefore we need to consume to fulfill our desires. But hopefully, what we contribute is more than what we consume. Our Bada Swami used to say that when I depart from this body, that God also may feel ashamed. Not ashamed, but feel that, look, this person has returned to me more than what I gave him. And that's the way of saying. If one discovers the joy of contribution, discovers joy of giving, this is how we introduce our children to this aim for seva projects and so forth. And they would collect $1 here, $1 there, and then the $100 and give them and feel proud that this is my contribution. Thus, this spirit of contribution, the happiness that comes from the contribution, is much more valuable than the happiness that comes from consumption. The happiness that comes from fulfilling my desire is there, of course, but happiness that will come from fulfilling your desire. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you go about and keep on fulfilling, but the idea is that if I can contribute something to somebody, the joy that comes to me is a more lasting joy. There is one joy, there is a binding joy. There is one joy that is accompanied with freedom. The joy that comes by fulfilling my desire, which is what we call consumption, is a joy that comes with bondage. Because when one desire is fulfilled and I enjoy it, then my mind automatically wants more of it. When I provide that to the mind, then mind even wants more of it. Like you pour butter in the fire and the fire wants more and more, and thus when I fulfill my desires, that spirit of consumption, it always, it always increases, grows, and never decreases. And therefore the Vedas teach us that may we replace the spirit of consumption. But then how else can I be happy, Swamiji? The only happiness I know is by enjoying things. Enjoying good food, enjoying cars, enjoying my home, enjoying all means of entertainment, that is the happiness I know. But there is also a happiness when you feed somebody. When you help a needy person, the happiness that comes when you perform an act of kindness, put it this way. The happiness that comes of a different quality. That also is contagious. And that also wants you to get more and more of it. If thus I am affected by this contagion of joy that is coming from helping, then my life is made. Because that is what I'll keep on doing. And the happiness that comes to me comes with freedom. The happiness that comes with consumption comes with bondage because my mind wants more. Here my mind wants to give more. Once it discovers that there is happiness in giving, mind wants to give more and more. And this is how gratitude, recognition of the realities of life enables us to discover this harmony or order that is going on, and how I can also align myself with that order. Thus become a contributor from a consumer. As Puja Swamiji always says, transform yourself from being consumer to being a contributor. That's what this gratitude does. And in case some of this doesn't happen to me, Swamiji, I don't feel like giving anything. I just feel like enjoying and consuming, then pray. Pray to Ishvara that, Lord, please give me this sensitivity. It does call for sensitivity to recognize the favor that I am receiving, the help that I am receiving. Sometimes we just take it for granted. Our children, not our children, maybe when we were children probably it was the same thing, that takes for granted. We, of course, grew up with not plenty, and therefore it all mattered that when we spent a little money also. Didn't have money anyway to begin with, because there were some children who were getting the school, what do you call them? Anyway, the father gives some money, school allowance. I didn't know what school allowance is, We didn't even need also, but so the allowance which is a favor becomes my right. There's so many things that we are in life, we do not know where it's all coming from. A prayer also is a very, very important thing in our life. The prayer arises from my mind when I realize that I'm in need, that I should express my need to the one who can fulfill, who himself is not in need and who is capable of fulfilling my need. One who has the knowledge of what I need, one who has the capacity to fulfill my need, and one with a sensitivity to do that. There are people who know what the world needs. They also have the means to fulfill that need, but they don't have the sensitivity that I should do something. So there happens to be an entity like that, who knows what I need, who has the capability of fulfilling my need, and thirdly, who is benevolent, compassionate, kind, to reach out to fulfill my need. To that one we should offer prayer, and that is Ishvara. He is omniscient, so he knows exactly what I need. Omnipotent is all the power and capacity to give what I need. In the sensitivity that yes, I should fulfill the need. But Swami, that's what you are saying. We keep on praying, and where is our prayers are not being fulfilled? Does anybody listen to our prayers? Swamiji is there, Bhagavan, and then when I pray, does he know what I am doing, or does he listen to my prayers? So very often, many of us feel that Swamiji, prayers are not being answered. Ishvara seems to be insensitive. Sometimes you will call him cruel, but at least insensitive. The answer is that the prayer prayer is an action. Prayer either you perform in your mind with your speech, and it's an action at the level of speech or at the level of mind, and every action must have a result. But I don't see the result of my prayer, Swami. Well, then we should leave it to him or Ishvara to decide in what way to fulfill my prayer. Maybe my prayer may not be answered now when I want it. It's possible. What I do now may result into some result, in future. But that kind of a trust we should have in Ishvara, that when we pray, the prayer never goes unanswered. When to answer, how to answer. I may not get what I want. Well, Swami, you say Ishvara knows what I want. He may not give what I want, but he may give me what I need. Therefore, again, it's a matter of trust that he knows what I need. He'll give me what I need. It may not be what I want. And sometimes it is good that he does not give me what I want. Because in future I realize that had I received what I wanted, it may have been no good for me. Now I realize I'm glad that I did not get a certain thing. I did not get admission there. I did not get that job. I did not get this and this. That time I regretted. I was very unhappy. Later on I recognized that it all was all right. It had something to contribute in my life, and therefore whatever happened there was okay. So, thus prayer comes from recognition of Ishvara, that there is Ishvara or creator, sustainer, dissolver. There is omniscient, omnipotent. There is also benevolent, and therefore he returns the prayer. And that's how prayer becomes a very powerful tool in our hand. Because where else can we go? And our Swami would say that you, a beggar, cannot beg from a beggar. A beggar should beg from someone who does not need to beg. And he's the only one that does not need to beg. I may have told you this little anecdote in the past. There is this ascetic, a Muslim ascetic, it's called Fakir. This is in the times of the Emperor Akbar. Apparently Emperor Akbar had set aside a certain period of time every day that whoever comes with a need, he'll fulfill that need. So one day this ascetic Fakir came and he was made to wait in the outside room. He was told that Shahanshah is right now in his prayers, and once he comes out, then he will fulfill your desire. So when that emperor finished his prayer and came out, he saw the ascetic Fakir walking away. He said, "Hey, please come back. What happened? You came here to seeking some favor, fulfill your desire. Why are you going away?" He says, "I heard that you were also asking for favors from him. Then why should I not directly go to him? Why should I come to you?" So ultimately he is only giver. And what comes to us through various stages may be coming from him only. It looks to us like a postman the other day gave me $100. And I said, "Thank you very much. Have a cup of tea." He said, "No, Swamiji, this is not my money I am giving you. Given by somebody." He gives money order. I did not know what is this money order. I thought postman is giving me. So we think that people are giving, world is giving, actually the giver is Ishvara. Not that we should not thank people and not that we should not have a sense of gratitude. We should have. In our mind also we should know that ultimately Ishvara is the one who favors. Our praise should go to them. And there's a gratitude from Ishvara for what he has provided. And that's how the whole universe has been created. And also prayer. What is this prayer? There is a famous serenity prayer. God, give me the serenity to accept gracefully what I cannot change. Give me the courage to change what I can. Give me the wisdom to know the difference. Difference what? Difference between what I can change and what I cannot change. This is borrowed from Bhagavad Gita. I shouldn't say borrowed. This may be an independent inspiration on the part of somebody. But when Lord Krishna says, "Karmanyeva adhikaraste, ma phaleshu kadachana," a very famous statement, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, it is a duty, it is your responsibility to perform your duty without expectation of reward. Ma phaleshu kadachana, expectation of personal reward. When you perform an action, there is going to be an outcome. But when you perform an action, do not ask for a personal reward, that may I personally be benefited by the outcome of this action. I am performing the action, may the outcome go to the universe. Now this is a big thing, it sounds very simple. Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have the right to action, but not to the result thereof. That is how it is translated. But this sounds very simple, but this is something very difficult. But this is how Lord Krishna teaches us how to become free. Because naturally when I perform, I do something, I want return in favor. That's the usual thing. I did this, I must get the favor in return. Lord Krishna says that binds you. That is the way of life that is binding you. Meaning that you will never become free from seeking favor. You will keep performing actions for only receiving favor, and that way you will never become free from need of favor. You follow? The favors may grow, and you may become bigger and bigger than what you are, become wealthier, become more powerful, become more famous, and so forth. But as far as the beggar is concerned, the beggar does not go. That when I do something, I must be rewarded for what I did. Lord Krishna says, please do something without seeking personal reward. Not easy. So in that simple sentence, Lord Krishna says that may you do whatever you do without asking for a personal reward. You remain detached from the outcome in the sense that you do not own. You are not the owner of the outcome. You can own the karma, the action. Meaning that, yes, it is my action. In India, people say, Ishvara will do, Bhagavan karenge, and I will get the outcome. I should do and Ishvara should get the outcome. So here Arjuna, may you take the responsibility for what you do. In the particular case of Arjuna, the responsibility is to perform your duty. In this case, the big duty of fighting this battle. Thank God that we are not in that situation that we have to fight battle. But sometimes people say, Swamiji, life is a battle. Maybe. It's Mahabharata, it is Ramayana. You know that in the olden days, they used to say you should not keep a copy of Mahabharata in your home. Some Panditas, I guess, have circulated this thought. Should not keep Mahabharata, because if you keep Mahabharata at home, there will be Mahabharata in your home. But I don't know how they allowed Ramayana, because then there can be Ramayana at home also, isn't it? Somehow Ramayana received the favors of Pandits. So Ramayana you could keep, Mahabharata you could not. But the life may be Mahabharata, it may be Ramayana. And they say that that is the purpose. It is meant to our if you want to sharpen your knife, you sharpen it against a rough grinding stone, not against a smooth grinding stone. So life has been made like a rough grinding stone. And you have to constantly confront it. For what? So that the knife of our mind becomes sharper and sharper and purer and purer. But there you should know how to hold the knife against that grinding stone. At what angle you should hold it. Otherwise it can become blunt. Instead of becoming sharp, it can become blunt. If you don't hold it correctly, it can fly back to you also. So sharpening the knife also against the grinding stone requires an art. So living life also requires that art. Karmanyavadhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachana. Therefore you perform your duty. Swami, we have been doing that. And nobody gives a result anyway, even if you want. In India, after all, women do all kinds of, all chores they do. There is no recognition. There is no salary, no recognition. It's taken for granted. And therefore the spirit of offering was taken advantage of. Men took advantage. They thought it was right. And it's their duty. Which is I'm perhaps generalizing this thing, accusing all men, etc. But creates a lot of hurt. See, the whole concept of duty is meant for self-growth. Duty is an action that I perform with the attitude of offering, without expectation of a reward. But at the same time, I am a human being. I also need encouragement. I also need to be appreciated. I also need to be recognized. Even though Lord Krishna says do it, but that's not possible. I must admit. Not possible to follow Lord Krishna's teaching in letter, because it's not easy to perform my duty action without expecting any reward at all. Some recognition, some encouragement, something we always require. Hopefully a time will come when we may not require. That is the purpose of duty, that we grow to a point that we become free from need. So duty is supposed to take us to freedom. That is the concept of duty. But then we are human beings. So duty cannot be performed in a pure spirit that I do something without any expectation at all. No, Swamiji, mothers always do. They do for their children without expectation. I guess some expectation is there. That my child will grow, and then when I become old, and then they will take care of me. Yes. In India at least. Here nobody takes care, so perhaps that expectation is not there. But in India, this system of old people's home, etc., was not there. Every home was an old people's home. It was the cared facility where the old parents were taken care of by their children. And so mother would have this expectation that my child will grow, he will be a good person, this, that, and when I grow old, he will take care of me. Imagine an action being performed without expectation of any reward is a very big deal. It's a very tall order. When we think of the attitudes in our mind, we'll observe as to how an attitude, expectation of return is always built into what we do. Even when I'm talking to you, some expectation is built into that. Not of the Guru Dakshin, not that kind of expectation. But at least you look at me, smile at me. The recognition, oh Swami, you spoke well. That they may say at the end of the class, but during the class also the expression of my face shows that, yes, you receive it, you understand it, you enjoy it. That expectation is there in everybody, So, Lord Krishna teaches us that may you become free from expectations, and that is a way to become happy, of course. Because all unhappiness or pain comes from unfulfilled expectations. What makes me unhappy is an unfulfilled expectation. So ideally, in order to be happy, I should become free from expectations. And on Mother's Day, that mothers can be told that you become free from expectation. Easy to say. But in every relationship, we try to make a relationship as free from expectation as possible. Not totally divide us. It's not possible for us. Unless we become wise people, Become sthita prajna. Prajahati yada kaman. Have you heard this verse? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan. Lord Krishna says the one who has become free from all expectations. That is called. So becoming free from expectation is a mark of spiritual growth, and one who has completely grown into maturity, the wise person is free from all expectations. That is our goal. But then we have to do it intelligently. That has to be done with boundaries, with sensitivity, with understanding. It is true that all pain comes from unfulfilled expectation. And therefore, to become free from pain, we should also become free from expectation. How do we do that, Swami? So, have the spirit of contribution. Use every occasion as an occasion, an opportunity to contribute something in the relationship. Swami, expectation is natural. It is natural. Then pain also is natural. Unhappiness also is natural. And in order for us to grow and become happy, this is a way that we learn to give without expectation. Slowly reduce expectation, reduce them. How does it happen? When giving itself makes me happy, when doing something makes me happy. Usually our happiness comes from the outcome or reward of what we do. Lord Krishna teaches that, hey, you learn to enjoy what you do. Is that possible? How can you enjoy this monotonous thing, Swami cooking every day and cleaning every day and washing every day and like an assembly line every day, monotonous work, how can you enjoy that? Learn to enjoy. Enjoy your cooking. The pressure cooker is, you put something in there and steam is slowly coming out, and remember your physics principles and as to how it is, heat is there and water is slowly turned into steam and how the pressure is rising and how it is emerging from that valve and so forth. I don't know what to do, but what I'm saying, I don't know how to enjoy that, but somehow we have to find out a way. I'm cooking this, my family will eat that, and how they will enjoy that. And so I get the enjoyment of providing enjoyment to them. In some way or the other, we have to learn to enjoy what we do. Then the outcome will be the outcome will not matter. What we want is happiness. If what we do makes us happy, then the outcome is of no consequence. That is how Lord Krishna says, perform your action without expectation, it will happen. Meaning enjoy your action. That's what Lord Krishna is saying. Enjoy the action. And you have to discover ways of enjoying it. Swami, you vacuum cleaning, how do you enjoy that? Imagine your son, your child, your spouse walking and then enjoying that free, a nice feeling that you have because all the dust is removed and the rug has become so soft. And, so visualize that, how he will enjoy that feeling. I'm just making it up. What I'm saying is, but learning to enjoy what we do is the secret of life. Whether it's monotonous work, it's just our perception of what it is. What it is work. Same thing yesterday, it is work. Every day is a new day. Same person, you are not meeting the same person, every day is a different person. It's not the same sun that you see every morning, it's a different sun that we see every morning. We don't make a note of that. It's a different person, different work, different situation, different day, different time, everything is new. And thus greet everything as it is new, an opportunity to enjoy. Washing dishes, laundry.
Swamiji, what is the significance of Mother's Day? What about the rest of the year? The mothers should be ignored.
Gratitude, that's what we're talking about. What we're receiving from Mother and how, I don't know. Mother's Day, you're right. Why should it be only one day for Mother?
All the time. It's not one day. It's that one day that everyone says thank you and makes it a special day. I think everyone has the love for the mother. It's that one day they keep special. Just like when it's your birthday, it doesn't come every day. But you were born, right? And you wish someone on the day of your birthday. So they've chosen a day to wish Mother's Day. They didn't have to. They did. It's okay. I mean, you can't be sitting and saying thank you to your mother every day.
Yeah, you are right. Depends upon your feeling. If you have a feeling that my child is thanking me every day without expressing it, then it's fine. Feel that children have no value or no recognition or no gratitude for all that they have received, and this is a formality that they bring flowers and stuff like that on one day. No, that's another extreme. I'm sure your children aren't like that, but it's as he said, it's a good idea. There is one day that and Mother's Day should be, in fact, in India they would celebrate by washing their feet. But why act of worship? Washing feet means act of worship. You put them on the altar. Matrudevo bhava, pitrudevo bhava. The Vedas say that may you look upon your mother as God, may you look upon. Father comes next to that, then father, and then teacher, etc. So mother has always been this. In India they never thought a need for a Mother's Day as such. And you say every day is Mother's Day. There is this idea of the duty, but that setup was different. Now the setup is different. Those days the setup was such that everybody lived together. And their children had an opportunity to express whatever service they were providing to their parents. Now here you are in Montreal, and in Toronto, somebody is in Montreal, in California, and so forth, and therefore you have to make a special day at least to assemble. So the lifestyle and everything has changed now, and therefore these customs must have come, I guess. We have Sisters' Day also in India. That's the Rakhi Day. There's Brothers' Day also. Do you have that? Bhai Dooj. In Gujarat we have. Bhai Dooj. It's not very important. This Rakhi Day is very important. Bhai Dooj nobody remembers, Here also Father's Day is supposed to be Father's Day also, isn't it? Who remembers that anyway? So much for Mother's Day and so much of sale and so much of, but Father's Day, June 3rd week, and third Sunday or something comes and goes.
It's a wife's day.
That is every day. Huh? Oh, Valentine's Day. Oh, I see. Wife's Day or husband's day? Valentine is wife's day or husband's day? Spouse's day.
Oh, that's wife's day has to be every day.
So is Mother's Day.
Yeah, they have children. There's a
A lot
family.
of expectations.
Yeah.
You just talked about not having expectations.
And that's
All the comments have been about having expectations. So they will be expecting.
We said that is an ideal, that we should progressively, because expectation is bondage. Expectation means dependence. When I have an expectation from you, whether I become happy or not is decided by you. If you choose to fulfill my expectation that I am happy, you choose not to fulfill that I am unhappy, that means that I am delivering my happiness in your hands. That we all do. Every moment we have expectation, in that sense we are delivering our happiness to others. We are being controlled by others, or we empower them to control us. So that is why expectation is sign of bondage, dependence, bondage. And so become free from that, progressively. How do we do that? By undertaking a process of fulfilling other people's expectation. To contribute. To become free from expectation progressively, we try to fulfill others' expectations. Because fulfillment of expectation gives me happiness, and fulfilling someone else's expectation also will give me happiness. So trade that happiness, yes, very much so. So that is why they say, contribute. Mother is the greatest contributor. I mean, what can we say about mother starting from bearing the child? This process of pregnancy is a pretty hazardous stuff. That I discovered, It's not something easy. It is. It's very tough and hazardous also, and any kind of complication. And if it's not hazardous, then also it's carrying that weight for all that, and weight goes on increasing as the time goes. Well, mothers are all stupid people because they enjoy that anyway. So where's the question? So mother is the epitome or of the embodiment of sacrifice. So we call Mother Earth. Anybody who does Mother Earth always sacrifice. And other thing is the Kshama is forgiving. So Kshama also means Mother Earth also means Kshama. One of the names is to forgive. So Mother is like Earth, nurturing, nourishing, and also forgiving. How many things children do, they don't even know. They just slap, mother she may have received a lot of things. Because, they always forgive. That also is a sign of love. So my child is, So mother is a very amazing creature. It's really something unique on this earth. And you're right, just one day is not enough, but still to recognize the mother's contribution. That's why Vedas says, Matru Devo Bhava, the first is mother, then Pitru Devo Bhava, then father comes. So we congratulate you all for enjoying the privilege of being mothers and the privilege of having a child and raising a child and, and all the sacrifices that you have made. Lots of poems are there and, about how mothers, because the child is little, it wets the bed, and so mother puts the child in the dry part and she sleeps on the wet part. Beginning from there, very beautiful poems are there, as to how mothers constantly sacrifice for raising the children. That we also did this to our mothers, we don't know. Except one thing they tell me, that at some age, as a toddler or what it is, I would wake up at 3:30 in the morning and start crying, and I want to something was there, 3:30 in the morning. And scream, and then mother has to wake up and give me that whatever it is, so I did that. Any questions?
Any cards, and anybody can ask also. Anybody can ask also.
Swamiji, I have a question. You want to help somebody heal. What do you do? Healing power.
Does anyone have questions?
You want to heal somebody?
Healing power.
Because healing power requires certain amount of upasana. Upasana means some meditations, etc., to invoke that power in you. Everybody has a healing power but in particular if you want to, acquire that power, that will require you to do certain special kind of prayers and worship to invoke that power in you. Everybody has basic power, but if you want to be healer as such, then you have to do special things, yes. Why is it so difficult to quieten the mind? I have tried mantras, prayer and breathing with focus, but the mind wanders. The way that is prescribed to slowly quieten the mind is to give mind an occupation. And thus mantra or prayer is an occupation, then what of breathing with focus? If the mind wanders, the advice is that you keep on doing it again and again. Abhyasena kauntaya. Abhyasa means repeatedly doing that. Don't give up. And also try to understand the mind. What is the reason why the mind is wandering? One is that it is just habitual error that mind wanders, like a child just keeps running around. Other can be that there are built-in impulses in our mind, which are called raga and dvesha, attachments, aversions. This is what, in fact, so there are two reasons why the mind gets distracted. One is it has become the habit of the mind just to keep on wandering. Second is that there are those impulses of the mind, when they arise, then they drive the mind away from our object of thinking. So what we can do is try to understand the mind and try to understand the what I call raga dveshas, attachment, aversions, or anger, or jealousies, some of these impulses that are there. Let us understand the mind. What is bothering the mind? Why is the mind not able to focus? So if you understand the mind has this problem with some jealousy, has problem with anger, has problem with, so various problems are there, self-esteem, self-acceptance. So let us address these problems. Not just take the mind and try to control it, try to quieten it, etc. That of course one should do. But understanding the mind also is very important, and helping the mind to become free from what bothers the mind. Like a child is crying, you're quiet enough, understand why, it is hungry. You try to do just quiet, but then because it's hungry, or whatever the problem is, like some stomach ache is there. Similarly, there are these aches and pains in the mind, and we have to help the mind heal those things. So healing our mind by trying to make it free from the impulses of raga, attachments, aversions, is the way to make the mind quiet. So there are two reasons why the mind wanders. One is it has just become a habit, in which case mantra etc. will help. Second thing is are these built-in impulses which drive the mind away. Understand those impulses and work with them. Vedanta prescribes a method called pratipaksha bhavana, meaning that you deliberately take the contrary position. Suppose the mind displays anger. Anger is there towards somebody because the mind has taken a position. It cannot tolerate. Sometimes we cannot tolerate somebody, we cannot tolerate something, and the intolerance is one of the reasons why anger comes. So then teach the mind to tolerate. Anger also comes because my expectation is not fulfilled. Teach the mind to drop that expectation. So understanding the mind is very important. Just simply trying to control it, etc., you do that, but then we have to understand the mind. And basically that is why Bhagavad Gita teaches that the basic impulses in the mind are called raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion. Both of these drive the mind out. Attachment is because it is concerned about somebody or something, and aversion is because it cannot tolerate something, cannot put up with something. So we will educate the mind to become free from these attachments and aversion, the impulses, And that is how the mind will become quiet. And not that you should not apply this method of mantra, that keep doing it. At the same time also try to understand the mind and make the mind free from its problems. Poor mind also, the child is crying because there is some stomach ache there, So we understand, so mind is crying. We try to understand the mind and try to, And that is how these values, of kindness and compassion are very important. That you remember this we have told you the story of three the. The means first the was Dhamma. The devatas have the indulge into things. And there was Dhamyata or Dhamma or self-control. Second was Asuras who are cruel by nature, so Daya, compassion, pity, mercy. Third, are human beings, they are all greedy and therefore Dhanam. So Dhamma, Daya, Dhanam. Controlling the self from indulgence, being kind and compassionate to other people who do not fulfill your expectations, and be charitable. Charity need not be only in terms of the money. Charity in many ways also can be there. Charity is let him win, So when Lord Rama, and they used to play those brothers, Lord Rama made his brothers win the game. So let them win the argument. We can argue. Goes on, let them win the argument. That also, without declaring it by the, oh okay, you are right. No, not that way. But, all right, so he is right, or is wrong, why do I hold on to this thing? So charity can be displayed in many ways in our interactions, by just being kind, by being generous. So when we practice this, the mind will become calm. This when we more and more we practice, more calm the mind will become.
Nothing works, then fake it until you make it.
Nothing works. Yeah, but you can't fake it with your mind, unfortunately, How does one know if he is progressing in his spiritual journey? The spiritual journey can be simply explained as purification of mind. Spiritual journey is purification of mind, that mind becomes free from these impulses of attachment, aversion, anger, greed. By these methods that we said, by the Pratipaksha Bhavana, by these contrary positions, and that way the mind becomes free from the impulses, more happy it feels, more relaxed it is, more quiet it is, more cheerful and happy it is. So our spiritual progress can be measured by how much happy we are or how much cheerful, not happy in terms of getting from somewhere, how I am happy with myself, how I am comfortable with myself. Because our main problem is our own self, that we are not comfortable with ourselves. We do not approve of ourselves. We always demand things from ourselves. And therefore, constant conflict is going on of myself with myself. Therefore, as that conflict becomes reduced, as my mind becomes free from conflict, mind becomes more acceptable. That's called purification of mind, becomes more acceptable. Less inner conflict, less inner peace, and that is the measure of the progress, spiritual progress. You are closer to yourself, you are closer to Ishvara. So progressing, how quiet or how happy you are, how comfortable you are with yourself, put it this way. How comfortable. Here what happens is, give me 10 minutes and I become restless. I just cannot sit with myself because my mind is my biggest problem. So how comfortable we are with ourselves is also one of the measures of the spiritual progress. If you need further clarification, please ask. If you have to use the chair for meditation, what kind of chair? Wooden, metal, or any other? I guess wooden chair would be preferable, but should I use a covering or cushion? You may use. So then it doesn't matter what that chair is, it should be a comfortable chair. You can sit comfortably, use a cushion so you can sit comfortably also, so that that chair, etc., does not remain an issue. The idea is that, therefore, your body does not remain an issue. You sit comfortably so that ultimately body does not remain an issue and you can address your mind to do what you want to do. If you have to sit on a chair, any comfortable chair, where you can sit straight, I'm not sitting, but where you can, and cushion is not so soft that you cannot be, firm. It should be firm as well as something that gives you comfort. And so, ultimately posture is important, that you can sit firmly and as erect as you can, as firm as you can, and whatever helps you to do that, please do that. How to use the mind to fake it?
No, I didn't ask that.
No, I haven't asked this question.
Somebody reading my mind.
Somebody had your mind read.
See, what is meant by faking is, I'll give you an example, that our Puja Swami said that transform yourself from being consumer to being contributor. So in the mind, fake it that I am a contributor. That it does not stop there only. Now act as a contributor. Usually I want to take, so our Swami will say that when somebody comes before me, my first thought is, how can I be helpful to that person? Usually when somebody comes before me, my first thought is how to use that person. So how to use a person is how we generally, the tendency to transform it now. So deliberately ask the mind, how can I be useful to the person? What is meant by faking is perform an act of being useful, not just thinking. Meaning that faking should not be confined merely to thought, but it should be expressed in the appropriate action. Then it becomes firm. We want to create new samskaras or we want to create new tendencies. Tendency right now is to consume. Then I want to create new tendency of contributor. Then perform an act of contribution. Then a samskara is there. Another act of contribution. Further samskara is there. More and more we do, then deeper and deeper those samskaras will be there. A day will come that you'll do it effortlessly. That is the idea. So this is what is meant by faking, is do, not just think. So, till you make it means what? Till it becomes your habit. Fake it till you make it. Have I answered that question? But nobody will own up this question, I guess. What are our karmas? Our thoughts, our actions, or our deeds? Karma means action. So our thoughts are the product of our actions. Thoughts are not actions. And thought just occur, therefore we cannot take responsibility of thought. Once the thought occurs in the mind, then I have to decide what to do with that thought, whether to implement the thought, whether to ignore the thought, what to do. That is where my action comes. But merely thought is not an action. A thought arises by itself. It is the result of past action, but it is not an action in the present. Therefore, I need not worry about a thought. People do get worried about thoughts. Swami, this kind of thoughts are coming in my mind. What should I do? Let it go. Important is what do I do in response to that thought. If you think that Swami, negative thoughts are coming, what should I do? Do something positive. Perform an action to contrary to that thought. That is again the pratipaksha bhavana, or deliberately do something to contradict that thought. That's the best way of slowly neutralizing the thought. Our actions and deed, I don't think the action and deed have two different meanings. Action is the same as deed, I guess. So, thoughts are not karmas, thoughts are the result of karma. And what is karma? A deliberate action that you perform is called karma. So, breathing is not a karma. Thinking is not karma. Things happen by itself. A deliberate thinking is karma. That's called meditation or whatever. Mere thinking is not karma. What happens by itself is not karma. What is done deliberately is called karma. We are accountable for what we deliberately do. Not accountable for breathing, not accountable, then involuntary actions are done. We are not accountable for that. And so what we do deliberately is where we have to be careful.
Swami, are your words also your karma?
Words are not karma. Speaking is a karma. And speaking produces words, and words produce certain effect, and that way the speaking is karma that produces an effect. And then what is the purpose of speaking? Was it meant to help somebody, hurt somebody, whatever, so that is all would then decide what the outcome will be. So what is the intention behind what you do?
Swamiji, they say do not say Hanuman Chalisa, for women especially, Hanuman Chalisa and the Gayatri Mantra. Why?
Yeah, I know. This is an age-old thing, that women should not chant Gayatri Mantra and women should not chant Hanuman Chalisa. I am sure that opinion exists and that it may be there in some books also, possible. But those things have no purpose now left because everybody is chanting Hanuman Chalisa. And this Gayatri Parivar made Gayatri so popular, everybody chants Gayatri. So the person who founded this Gayatri Parivar, that our Sharmaji, he just made Gayatri a very common thing and is playing, So that restriction no more remains, whether right, wrong or indifferent, and all those people who come from the Arya Samaj, they do Gayatri Homa every day. Yeah. So this question, I'm sure that there are books which say that women should not chant Vedic mantras by themselves. There can be even books which can say you should not hear Vedic mantras.
They don't have the reason.
Huh?
They say don't do it. There should be a reason with it.
Well, these are all mystical things, therefore there are no, what you do, these are all, it has a mystical effect and they would think that it would create a negative effect and that's why they advise you not to do. But when they tell not to do, I want to do it, So, therefore, where is the question of Gayatri Mantra when we are teaching Upanishads, that's all Vedas, and then when they are all listening to them, where is the question of other Vedic mantras? Meaning that our teachers are not maintain those boundaries. When they went out and taught it to everybody, these boundaries are already over.
It's the people who have created these boundaries, some of them maybe.
It's coming traditionally and they may have their own reasons. But we have not respected those things. And somebody said that yoga is not meant for women. Suppose. That was a statement at somebody. Was it Osho or somebody said. And then immediately BKS Iyengar said, no, it's meant for everybody. Because he was concerned perhaps that half of his clients would go, whatever it is, but then... So.
What about Gayatri Mantra at night?
Gayatri Mantra is a prayer to sun, and therefore ideally it should be there when the sun is shining, but that doesn't mean that you cannot chant it at night.
Somewhere it's shining.
Some ladies chant Gayatri Mantra at night, everything reverse,
Yeah, because you believe that somewhere the sun is shining, so it's okay.
I guess, all right.
Swamiji, I do have a question if you don't mind. I often struggle with the thought of why there is so much injustice and why certain people, despite doing obvious harm to others, appear to still be able to continue to do that. Is this all a cycle of karma and the inequality and injustice? Is this karma that people are carrying from the past? Or what is your interpretation of this?
Injustice is only in the human society, by the way. This injustice is only on the part of human being because we are born with this kama, krodha, lobha. We are born with impulses of lust, anger, greed, meaning that human being is born with violence in the nature. That is the reason why the 5 values that are taught by Yoga Shastra, first is ahimsa. Non-violence is the primary value because human being is primarily a violent creature. Why is it so? Because there is lust, kama, anger, krodha, greed, lobha. We have brought it with us in varying degrees. Some people have more of it, some people have less of it, but each one is born with these impulses, and whenever anything is done out of these impulses, is going to be a violent action. And so, all exploitation and all violence is always committed by human beings. And that is when a human being is controlled by his impulses, then the impulses control what he does, and then what he does is a violent action. Why? Ignorance. Why ignorance? No reason. This is not a justification of injustice, understand? This is trying to understand, not justification. No justification of violence. But human being is born with violence, born with impulses. These impulses there are many, they are all then shortened into these 3, kama, krodha and lobha. Kama is lust, krodha is anger, lobha is greed. So each one of us has this in varying degrees. And life's purpose ultimately, or what we call purushartha, is to overcome this, to conquer them and become free from them. The extent to which we become free from them, to that extent we can progress spiritually. And so there is no answer to the question why. This is how the nature of mind is. Now your question was, how can people get away with that? But the powerful have always gotten away by, showing injustice to the weak ones. From time immemorial, the stronger has always exploited the weaker, mainly human beings.
Does this then become part of your karmic account? Is that how it works?
Ultimately, it will work. Whatever you do is called karma. And so, all these actions that you perform, you will have to be accountable for that in future. Meaning that those who are torturing others or violating others will have to be accountable for what they are doing in future. And that is to help us desist from doing this thing, that you understand that you cannot get away from this kind of an action, you will have to pay for it. Most of the actions are performed out of impulses. People don't even deliberately do that. An act of violence is not a deliberate action, generally. Anger is not a deliberate thing. Our Puja Swamiji in the past used to invite the audience. Come on, get angry. Get angry. Get angry. He's laughing. I'm asking him to get angry, he's laughing. Because we cannot get anger gets us, we do not get angry. We say, I got angry. You don't get angry, anger gets you. So these impulses come and they control us, and that is when we find doing things which are harmful. And that is the great main effort in our life, is to slowly overcome these impulses and become free from. That's called moksha. Moksha is when you're free from this kama, krodha, lobha.
Swamiji, I don't have any question, but I have some comment. Some years back, you gave us a beautiful write-up on the need of prayer. And three things that you emphasize on that was that you have to put adequate effort, you have to allow time, and of course, grace. Three things, right? We as a human being, very impatient. We do something and we want result right away. So today's take for me is very important personally, that you're actually praying to somebody who doesn't need anything. And whatever happens for you, it takes time, let it be. That's the way it is. It's going to take time. So I find this is very beautiful for kids to understand when we talk to some of the children. That is very important. They say, why do you have to pray? So I just want to make this point.
I have to pray because you are in need. Because you need help. When you need help, you should reach out where the help is available. If you don't need anything, fine, don't have to pray. But every time I want this and I want that, and constantly you want things. If you want things, then somebody has to give you. Then he has to be pleased with you. And therefore you have to do something to please them. So prayer is an act of invoking grace of the Lord, as you said.
I also do have a comment on prayer, effectiveness of prayer. They're not my comments. There are many research and facts out there. In the interest of time, I will maybe take 2 or 3 of them. The first of all, few research company, they did research which religious sect prays the most. And then there's Islamic people, they swear 5 times a day, and more than those who follow other research. And at the same time, many leaders of Islamic sect, and we know the fact that they are the poorest and most backward. So if they are praying the most, the result is they're the poorest and the most backward. That's one study. The other study was done on the king of United Kingdom. We had one coronated recently. This in 16th, 17th, 18th century. Everywhere in British churches, they said, long live the king. There was prayer all over the place. And those days, kings did not live very long. Come 20th century, when they started cursing the king, they started living right up to the 19th to 20th years. So that shows the effectiveness of the prayer. The third thing is, they say, Protestants pray a lot less than Catholics. And no matter where you start, compare those groups. Protestants are more educated, more wealthy, and better off. So that shows another effectiveness of the prayer. The bottom line is, the prayer may do good to a lot of people, but if you look at the society, prayer does not show any positive correlation to what it gives. Whether it gives you peace of mind, please go ahead and pray. Or I pray, by the way, once a week religiously, every week. But the reason I feel one must pray is when it can't hurt you, it can only help you. Or if you think nothing else is working out, let's pray. If it helps, great. If it doesn't help, you haven't lost anything. But there's a positive correlation has not been established.
See, the way to do the research is, you also have to take the case of those who are not praying as compared to the prayers. Now the study has to be, how do you know the result of the prayer. Yes, they're not rich, but prayer may not necessarily. Prayer is an action. Is a mental action or an oral action? Mental action. An action has to give rise to result. There is no. That's a law. The cause must give rise to effect. So prayer must give rise to the outcome. What is the intensity of prayer? What's the sincerity of prayer, etc. All of these will determine what the outcome will be. And then also the outcome may not be in the terms that we are seeking. How do you know prayer has not worked? Now you are saying these people are not happy, they are not rich. That may not be the only outcome of prayer. If they did not pray, what would have happened? Would have been worse off than what they are? It's likely. So,
That says about the British kings or British monarchs, when the prayer was, the intent was to get an outcome for their healthier and longer life. That did not happen. When they stopped praying or prayed less.
well, how do you say that did not happen? They did not live long. Nobody lived long that time.
Right.
The lifespan itself was 30 years only. The kings also were human beings, that's all. And so how do you say did not live long? From instead of 31, he may have lived for 32 years. How do we know? It may have added 1 year in the life, but that time. So you don't compare or don't judge, because that time the lifespan was very short. So living 34 years is more than living 32 years. So maybe that people's prayer helped them live 1 more year or 2 years. So
Actually, this point was mentioned in that study what you just made, how much they lived compared to the overall population, how much longer they lived. And they said at that time, the amount of time they lived longer was not as much as it was when lesser prayers were done.
no, that correlation cannot be, because you do not know what the result. Prayer is an action. Action cannot produce negative results.
Oh, actions produced a negative result.
Negative action produces negative results. Any action cannot produce negative results. A positive action has to produce positive results. Prayer is not just the words. Prayer also is the intention, the attitude that goes behind it. And that is very important. And if you are just uttering words, that doesn't mean that is prayer. What is the attitude behind that? And if people simply say, "Long live the king," as a matter of just to repeat that, that's a different thing. And if they really intended that the king should live long, it has got to have effect. And if they did not live long, how do you determine they did not live long? How much would have they lived if the prayer was not there? If he lived 6 months long, there also maybe, they did not live, because those days lifespan was very short.
And Swami, another thing on richness. How do you equate richness? I mean, people think about dollar and cents. Talking to the guy who's been praying and he's so happy because he doesn't need anything. So I don't know. So some of these researchers, they're talking about poor in terms of dollar and cents. How do you equate otherwise richness of a person?
Mm-hmm.
Swamiji, I have just one clarification. You talked about expectations creating bondage. What is the view in terms of self-expectation? Because sometimes I struggle with that. Sometimes if you set your self-expectations too high, it causes a mismatch. So, would you comment on that, and how does one temper one's self-expectation? Does it create a sense of that bondage or unhappiness if you don't meet your own expectations? So how does one deal with that?
What determines the self-expectation?
In my case, I guess that there is a bit of what I struggle with is perfectionism. I'd like to get to this level of standard, and I think we all set our own standards. But if you fall short of your own standards, that does cause unhappiness.
Yeah, but then you have to be kind to yourself also. You must recognize you are not a perfect person. And it's a good way. To set a standard is a good idea, no doubt about that. But there must be humility that I am not a perfect person, therefore I cannot demand from myself also. As we try to avoid demanding from others, we should try to avoid over demanding from ourselves also. Because we are just bashing ourselves. And that way we are draining our own energy by creating conflict within ourselves. So, set a stand, yeah.
And I think that the trick here is to optimize your own standard. So as to create,
First of all, to be kind to yourself and accept yourself.
I think accepting self.
Yeah. And that standard you set yourself should not be whipping yourself. To help yourself to grow. Not whipping yourself. And it should not be based on somebody else. That somebody did this, that's what I should do, and that's how you set standard for yourself. That also is not a fair thing.
I understand. Thank you.
Swamiji, I got a question.
Yeah.
Back to this gentleman who was talking about kings earlier.
Hmm.
I think it's not only that, it's the karma also, or the lifestyle, the live, or the age factor as well. It's, prayers alone is not the only media to make your life longer and accomplish things you want. You have to follow the karma as well.
Not only karma, but to live long you must have a certain lifestyle. You must eat properly, you must drink properly, you must walk properly. So living long involves many things, not just prayer. How that king lived, whether he abused himself, what did he do, and so many things go. Prayer is not the only thing that decides. Many things go into, one's. Number one is the prarabdha. They say that prarabdha decides your lifespan. Well, you are born with X number of breaths and so forth. Now, I don't personally necessarily subscribe to that, but it is prarabdha as well as purushartha, meaning that what you have done in your life. You can abuse your life, it's possible, and that way shorten your lifespan, or you can live the life well and increase your lifespan. So some free will also is involved. This is a combination of prarabdha and purushartha. That everybody is born with prarabdha. So you can make some changes, not a whole lot of changes, but you can do that by proper or improper way of living. Oh,
Do we have time for Manu Buddhi and Bhajan?
All right, can you switch off these lights? You have to join me in the fourth line of this.